been blessed thus far. I can kill the spider above my bed. Although it's hard because I'm scared. I can even stain and polyurethane. But some things just don't change. I need you, yeah. Sometimes so hard to say. Oh, I need you. Some things remain.
So the quote goes, if they couldn't speak, would their actions say that they love you? If you couldn't speak, would your actions say that you love them? And remove love and replace it with prioritize, value, consider.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A Detroit woman says her family in Venezuela watched U.S. forces capture President Nicolas Maduro from their window. Jessica Gutierrez says they called her as the attack began, describing a long, frightening night.
I got a phone call from my family at 1 o'clock in the morning here, 2 o'clock there, that, the United States is attacking now and we're not sure what's going to happen. You don't know what that's going to look like.
Her family owns El Rey de las Arepas in southwest Detroit. Crews are installing giant letters on the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. The panels will display words from President Obama's 2015 Selma speech, wrapping around the 225-foot tower. And Jill Scott is back with her first album in more than a decade. It's called To Whom This May Concern, featuring 19 tracks and collabs with Ab Soul, JID, Tierra Whack, and Too Short. The album drops February 13th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams and Chargers will have to make a cross-country trip for their first-round game in the NFL playoffs. The Rams locked up the number 5 seed in the NFC and will play at Carolina on Saturday, 1:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Chargers are the number 7 seed in the AFC. Their first-round matchup is at New England, the number 2 seed in the AFC. That game is scheduled for Sunday at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Raheem Morris, one of 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL this season, was the first head coach to be fired. The Atlanta Falcons fired Morris Sunday evening, despite the Falcons winning their last 4 games. Atlanta finished 8-9. LeBron and Luka Doncic combined for 62 points Sunday night to lead the Lakers to a 120-114 win over Memphis. Doncic had 36, LeBron dropped 26 and 10 assists. The Lakers are 22-11, third best in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too unsettled. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning. Good morning and God bless. Happy New Year, I should say. 2026 is in the building. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my very first thing today and every day is giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. Let's start this year together. I'm so happy and blessed that you could be here. It is a Mindful Monday, and this is how we're doing things on this particular very first Monday of 2026. Hour one, we're looking local, what's going on around here, left coast side of town, and it's a lot. Hour two, we have our Mindful Monday. Sahara Ali will get us centered and help us get our intentions set for the year to come. She's also going to offer some readings, some astrological and an intuitive readings by phone. So if you're one of our former front page folks, we haven't done it since then. She's consented to do that today and the last hour of Friday. So if you want to get a little peek at what might be happening in your year, or you just want to ask a question, that is happening. That's exciting. Hour three, we're going to go a little deeper and take a look at global issues. We'll be joined in the early part of the hour by Mayor Karen Bass, and we are talking Venezuela. We are talking Greenland, Cuba, Colombia. You know, what is happening, what has been happening in the last week, which of course, you know, well, I have a lot to say about that. And I think you probably do too. You know that you're invited on the air on this show all the time at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580 if you're at work or you're shy or you just like visuals. You can go to youtube.com and then you're going to go to KBLA 1580. There is a stream. We're streaming every single weekday from when we sign on to when we sign off. And so you can see me there. But there's also a very interesting conversation every day in the comments section. So I recommend that if you haven't checked it out yet. Some folks, you know, I've learned would rather die than speak publicly. So if you're one of those, you can always use your Twitter fingers, your YouTube fingers, and type a little something and send your message that way. So glad you're back. Glad we're together to get through this storm. The one with the rain, and the one with our military, and the one with our democracy. All the storms that we are going to get through together in this election year. Yikes. Sorry to remind you, first day, but hey, they're already on the move. The election jockeying, positioning, fundraising, filing, sharp elbows, all that started actually in November, but it will begin in earnest right now. Okay, so that's the deal. 800-920-1580. Pretty sure you know that. That is where you can call on the old-fashioned landline and make your point, you know, with your voice, which I always love. Being joined right now, hour one, by our relatively new regular contributor. She is a mama. She's an activist. She's a professor. She's worked in the private in the public, the nonprofit sectors, in all kinds of areas from education to economic justice, public health, environmental justice, child welfare, juvenile justice, and more. LaMikia Castillo, good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Now, as I was saying this morning. Sometimes when it comes to resolutions and all that, I like to try to stay in the moment. So Happy New Year, Happy New Now. Do you do resolutions and all that stuff? Do you turn a new page? Is it a new year and a new you, LaMikia?
I don't tend to do New Year's resolutions. I feel like they fade fast. I know a lot of people who do, but then by the end of January, they're dead in the water. So I tend to just, focus on what are some goals that I have, and my husband and I talk about what we want to accomplish in the new year. Not necessarily a resolution, but how do we build together? So
that's dope.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, couple goals, love that. But the thing about it is too, when I used to work with Coach E, the trainer, and he's kind of a life coach for a lot of young people. One of the things he always talked about was that it takes 21 days to make a new habit. So if you want to do a resolution, it doesn't have to be New Year's. It could be any time. And you just try to do it for 21 days. And then you renew that for another 21 days. And you can keep doing that for the rest of your life. If you just keep doing it that way, you don't have to feel like a failure. You just have to make it for 21 days.
I like that. I mean, 3 weeks seems pretty doable and reasonable. And then having the renewal versus setting something, feeling like you haven't, by day 5, oh yeah, I forgot about this, or
yeah,
I haven't kept up with it, and then letting it go. Yeah, it feels like 21 feels like a really reasonable amount of time to get something to stick.
Yeah. And anyway, if you fail, you just re-up. You can say, okay, what did not work about this? And just make a few adjustments and try again.
Right.
So I went to Candlelight Vigil in Northridge last night for a man named Keith Porter, who I've never met, but who was murdered by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve. And Keith Porter was a dad. He's got daughters. The youngest one, I believe, is 9. He apparently reportedly worked at the Home Depot, was minding his business. He was celebrating, allegedly, he may have been shooting into the air, as some folks do on New Year's. We don't know that for sure. The authorities are being rather tight-lipped, other than to sort of paint it. First they tried to say it was an active shooter situation, which is ridiculous. And then they are trying to paint the guy, the killer, as some kind of hero. But we know better than to believe the official story at this point. And it was beautiful to see, I would say around 150, well over 100 people came out last night. Dozens of candles, prayer, song, people speaking their memories of him. And it was wild also to see there were a lot of Latinos there. This is a black man that was murdered. But apparently a lot of his co-workers and friends came out. A lot of tears. And I don't know, LaMikia, you're an activist around these issues. I hate to bring in another new year this way. In the city of LA, we've seen police violence. Even while community violence is down, police violence is spiking.
Right. And it's so heartbreaking. My heart really does go out to his family and all of the folks who were impacted by this at the start of the new year, just being outside celebrating and, trying to ring in the new year together. And I did hear about what happened with this ICE agent. And I think the fact that, I mean, we've talked about this on your show so many times, the fact that this ICE agent believed that he had the right to go and intervene and shoot somebody. First of all, he wasn't even on duty. This had nothing to do with what his so-called job is, right? To go out and basically kidnap people off the streets. Like, why did he think that this was acceptable? He's been emboldened and empowered by the current administration and the policies that Trump has put into place, things that we see with Nathan Hochman, the DA here in Los Angeles, that folks in law enforcement, whether that be LAPD, Sheriff's Department, ICE, whomever, are able to just shoot people with impunity. And now a whole family and a whole community are mourning the loss of a father, someone who's contributing to society through his work. Like, it is, and a black man again. It just is. It's upsetting. It's heartbreaking for the family, and the fact that the police and everybody who are so-called investigating this are being tight-lipped about it shows to me that they're trying to cover something up because they know what this man did. The ICE agent was completely wrong, and now we have a 43-year-old father who is no longer here with us on this earth as a result of their poor decision-making and belief that they have the power and authority to just do whatever they want and take people's lives to be out here, quote-unquote, saving other people from what they claim to be him shooting in the air or whatever the case may be. But I'm not buying it.
Well, the thing about it, too, is the news agencies and the LA Times, dutifully report that shooting in the air is a felony. Okay, but it's not punishable by death. It's not punishable by instant execution without a trial. That's not what it is.
Right.
Even if he did do that, which we don't know, that's allegedly, because first they were saying active shooter, like he was threatening people, which clearly was not the case, based on witnesses and people that live in that apartment complex. It's one of those big apartment complexes in the valley. It's gated. They have, those rent-a-cops outside. And we had people in the building coming out and saying they had no idea that this happened, and lighting candles and standing with us and praying. So how could it be an active shooter situation if people in the building didn't even know? That's ridiculous. And,
right. And who did he shoot?
No one. But we know who is no longer alive. That would be Keith Porter. And I'm tired of reporting on this story. I don't relish this at all. But I don't think we can stop talking about it, because if we do, then no one will say anything. No one will remember. The only reason we know Keith Porter's name is because the family and the community, the police didn't release the name. They still haven't released the name, neither Homeland Security nor the LAPD, of the ICE agent. What I will say, LA Times is hilarious. They say 50 people were there. I don't know where they're counting. I was there. There were well over 100, about 50. Well, maybe they came really early. I don't know. But I will say that at least there was a lot of media there. There was interest. And I think a lot of that is because of Black Lives Matter, Grassroots Los Angeles, coming out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and organizing.
No, for sure. I think, when folks ask where Black Lives Matter is, I can tell you this is probably the first year in January and maybe 5 or 6 years that I haven't gone to a vigil at the beginning of the year because a Black person was shot by police in Los Angeles. Right. And when people say, well, where's Black Lives Matter? There's so much work that Black Lives Matter, I'm part of Black Lives Matter, right, continues to do to support families behind the scenes and to raise awareness about the fact that law enforcement, including quote unquote off-duty ICE agents, are, what they're doing and how they are taking people's lives. As you are saying, I don't know that the media would have been present or that a vigil would have happened. And a vigil may have happened, but it would have gone unnoticed if not for BLM standing in the gap and saying, hey, we're not going to just let this, go under the radar.
Yeah, I'm looking at the photo that they published in the LA Times, and the guy clearly came and left early. That's why he says there were 50 people, because I see the number of candles in the photo that they took, and by the time we left, there was way more than that. There were way more, dozens. So he said 50, maybe he actually left. Oh my gosh. And okay, I'm not even going to give glorified. Whoever wrote this needs a lesson in LA. We're going to continue this conversation, and you're invited in at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. A lot more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Okay, we're going to give this reporter a little tiny break because he's a reporting fellow at the Los Angeles Times and was a 2025 breaking news intern at the LA Times. So we're going to give him a little break. He seemed like a perfectly nice guy. Why he's quoting Project Islamic Hope, which doesn't even have any members in this article, I don't know. And he also says that Black Lives Matter Grassroots is an activist group within Black Lives Matter movement, which is also wrong. Black Lives Matter Grassroots is Black Lives Matter. And he also says that they're meeting with LA County District Attorney on Tuesday, when in fact that meeting is happening this morning.
This morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bunch of those are just the ones I can off the top tell you. So you always got to cross-check and double-check. But the demand here is for an independent investigation because Homeland Security is investigating and the LAPD is investigating.
Yeah, well, there needs to be some kind of accountability, and neither of those entities will give us the accountability that is needed for Keith Porter and his family. I do agree, obviously, that there needs to be some kind of investigation by somebody else. I'm not sure who that would be at this point, but I don't trust LAPD or Department of Homeland Security to do the work that's necessary. They're going to protect this ICE agent, and it's really scary for all of us, right? Because if this ICE agent is able to get away with this, imagine how many other off-duty ICE agents or other types of law enforcement. We already have this challenge and issue with law enforcement here in LA with LAPD and the Sheriff's Department, where folks can kill somebody, they're off duty, but because they're law enforcement, they're still protected. They have impunity. They don't have the same they don't have to follow the same rules that the rest of us do. So you add on to that all of these ICE agents who already are emboldened to just they're kidnapping people off the streets, and now they can walk around with weapons and just shoot people and claim that they're trying to protect the rest of the citizens in the area. That is mind-blowing, and it's extremely terrifying.
Yeah, well, they're calling for an independent investigation. I would think that there should be an arrest, but they're not. I guess they're saying it's too early to tell. They have not named the person. And it's robbery homicide, which is investigating because that's who they say investigates outside agencies, outside police agencies who shoot people. So, and it's the FBI, the U.S. Department of Justice, and Homeland Security. And, of course, we're talking Kristi Noem, a.k.a. Homeland Security Barbie, who is clearly a liar based on just the fact that she's constantly prevaricating. She's cut from the same cloth as the prevaricating president. And she says that exactly what you just said. That he was forced to pull his gun, and it was an active shooter. Again, this is the other thing that stood out to me from an earlier article by Labor Janey, who actually does a really good job reporting for the LA Times on police matters. And he was there, so I don't know if he's working on another story. But it says that they won't interview the ICE agent for days. That's according to Deputy Chief, LAPD Chief Alan Hamilton. So that means he's got plenty of time to go and corroborate his story. And this is what they always do. Why not interview him right away so we can get the details before he has a chance to make something up and, conspire with others to make the stories match?
Well, because they're trying to protect him, of course. That's why. I know you're asking that rhetorically, but it's the same playbook, right? The same story. He had to shoot. He had to pull out his weapon. He was, first of all, he came out of his home. He was not even physically where the activity was happening, where the celebration was happening. He left his apartment to go and quote unquote investigate himself, and then shot somebody. And the fact that he wasn't arrested immediately, and then, like you said, investigated, questions asked. He is literally a murderer walking around on the streets free right now. That's what it's.
What it reminds me of, LaMikia? It reminds me a little bit of George Zimmerman, because, like you said, no one was bothering you. You decided to go, and that's one of the things that scares me about these ICE agents. A lot of them are not trained at all. We don't know what their background is. They could be Proud Boys. They could be, anybody. And not only that, a lot of them are not even ICE agents. I mean, apparently this one was, because Homeland Security is claiming him. But some of these folks are just people with masks, snatching people.
They're bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely immediately thought of George Zimmerman when hearing about what took place, right? And look what happened with George Zimmerman, and he wasn't affiliated with any law enforcement. He just was a white passing Latino man who decided to kill Trayvon Martin in cold blood, and he got away with it.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of what could happen here, especially because, this man works for ICE, and Kristi Noem and her people are not going to just sit back and say, yeah, our guy did something wrung.
A guy working for ICE kills a black man. It's the worst case scenario. And this is what I kept saying, which is, for those of you who want to say, well, this isn't our fight, which I don't know very many people like that, but there are a few. I kept saying, I can't even imagine a scenario where flooding our neighborhoods with federal agents, flooding our neighborhoods with more and more law enforcement has ever ended well for black people in this country.
Right.
And this is an example. We saw it in Chicago with people being, pulled out of their houses, having their apartments smashed up, little kids with their hands zip tied out in the freezing cold snow. And now this. And, this is not the first person killed by ICE, but this is a black person in LA who was minding his business and allegedly committing an alleged crime. But again, if he was doing that, which we don't know, but if he was, still not punishable by execution. LaMikia Castillo is here. You're invited in. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro could be deported after his U.S. trial.
And if there's a legitimate government in another country that wants them to come and pay for their crimes in their country, we'll work with them.
On Fox News Sunday, Noem said the Trump administration is focused on bringing Maduro and his wife to justice. President Trump says Cuba's communist government is ready to fall after Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro was captured. Trump calls it a turning point, noting Cuba lost 32 military and police in the operation. Senator Lindsey Graham predicts Cuba's dictatorship is near its end. And today, co-host Chanel Jones is mourning another family loss. Her grandmother, Josephine Brown, passed away at 96 on New Year's Eve. The loss comes just 7 months after her husband, Uche Ojei, died from brain cancer. Jones called her grandmother her world. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams and Chargers will have to make a cross-country trip for their first-round game in the NFL playoffs. The Rams locked up the number 5 seed in the NFC and will play at Carolina on Saturday, 1:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Chargers are the number 7 seed in the AFC. Their first-round matchup is at New England, the number 2 seed in the AFC. That game is scheduled for Sunday at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Raheem Morris, one of 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL this season, was the first head coach to be fired. The Atlanta Falcons fired Morris Sunday evening, despite the Falcons winning their last 4 games. Atlanta finished 8-9. LeBron and Luka Doncic combined for 62 points Sunday night to lead the Lakers to a 120-114 win over Memphis. Doncic had 36, LeBron dropped 26 and 10 assists. The Lakers are 22-11, third best in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro. Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous, drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
Yeah, y'all, come on! Here come the drums!
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
1 year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DiPrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community, and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
This KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall is sponsored by LA Fire Justice.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with me. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you. And you're also with LaMikia Castillo, who is a contributor here at KBLA Talk 1580. 800-920-1580 if you'd like to weigh in today. So the Black Lives Matter grassroots, the BLMLA, is meeting with District Attorney Nathan Hochman this morning at 9 o'clock, I believe. What can you tell me about that, LaMikia?
Well, I can tell you that this meeting is long overdue. Folks know Nathan Hochman is a district attorney here in Los Angeles that took office after George Gascon, the district attorney who was in before him, was voted out. And Nathan Hochman, I call him a baby Trump. He's very much like Donald Trump in terms of his authoritarian position on things. And he has not been on the side of community members and families who have lost their loved ones to state-sanctioned violence at the hands of law enforcement. And so Black Lives Matter is meeting with Nathan Hochman to talk about these issues related to law enforcement, but in particular, Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, who was killed by Torrance PD. I'm trying to remember the exact year. I wish Sheila from Black Lives Matter was on the call right now.
I think it's 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong, yeah.
Yes. I think that sounds about right. And so Christopher DeAndre Mitchell was in his car in a grocery store parking lot and was killed within 12 seconds of police showing up to, I guess, investigate him for sitting in his car for just being a young black man. He was about 22 or 23 years old when this happened. And BLM has been showing up to Torrance police, to the Torrance City Council meetings and calling for the officers who killed Christopher DeAndre Mitchell to be held accountable, alongside with Christopher's mother, who has been showing up as well weekly since 2018. And so there was a grand jury that said, Christopher DeAndre Mitchell's murderers, the cops that killed him from Torrance PD, they should be held accountable. And this is a huge victory, right? It was a huge victory because this never happens. How often do we hear that any type of law enforcement, any type of police who kill somebody actually are held accountable for killing them?
It's actually
they don't get held
2%. It's actually 2% of cases, according to Mapping Police Violence. Only
Right.
2%. That's crazy.
It is wild, right? Only 2%. And so the fact that after years, from 2018 until just pretty much last year, we were, the constant fight, going and pushing for this accountability, that we were able to get that to that place. Shout out to, again, Sheila from BLM LA, BLM Grassroots, and many others who've been showing up and doing this, and also putting their bodies on the line, being abused, literally physically assaulted by police in Torrance to try to suppress this story and to try to not get justice for Christopher's family. All of that to say, this meeting with Nathan Hochman has been years in the making, and the intention is to get that accountability. And so we do have out a petition that we've been asking folks to sign. It's a tiny URL. I'll get the tiny URL for you all right now. But the goal of the meeting is to try to get that accountability, because Nathan Hochman and his team are trying to block it and say, even though a grand jury said, yes, we need to hold these officers accountable, we are not going to prosecute. We're not going to do it.
Right.
Basically
so
what's going on.
And so what's crazy about it, Christopher DeAndre Mitchell was only 23, a dad, and it is 2018. I looked it up. Is that, like you said, this was one of the rare cases where under DA Gascon, they brought charges. And then the district attorney, the new district attorney, Nathan Hochman, has requested that the charges be dismissed, claiming he can't prove it. The only reason that the judge delayed that, saying, there's another matter pending. I can't remember exactly what that other matter is, and so the judge did not dismiss, but it could still be dismissed. So I guess that's one of the things that they're asking or demanding in this meeting, is not to dismiss the case against these Torrance police officers. Remember, Torrance's cops are the ones that had the scandal with all the racist tweets, texts, whatever they were, and this is a de facto sundown town. They have a reputation. If you're from Southern California, Torrance PD has a reputation for being extra racist. And so that's one thing. But it also reminds me, LaMikia, and I know you were active around the protests around Jackie Lacey, the district attorney Jackie Lacey. And the reason that Black Lives Matter went to her house and protested, which ended up with her husband pointing a gun at Dr. Melina Abdullah and her eventually losing her bid for re-election, was because she refused to meet with Black Lives Matter. She refused the meeting. And so I think it's interesting that DA Nathan Hochman, even though he's arguably much more conservative than DA Jackie Lacey, has decided to take this meeting. Yeah,
I'm curious to see what happens. I will not be in the meeting today because I have to take my son to a doctor's appointment. Otherwise, yes, I was very actively involved, and I was one of the people who was at Jackie Lacey's home demanding that she take action to hold killer cops accountable. And so I'm really curious to see what happens in this meeting with Nathan Hochman today. I do encourage all of our listeners to go and sign this petition as soon as you can, especially before the meeting this morning. You can go to tinyurl.com/sign4Christopher. That's tinyurl.com/sign4Christopher. And it's called Sign for Christopher because we're doing this in Christopher's name. But imagine how many families have had loved ones killed by law enforcement. No action has been taken. So there's no precedent, right, for the accountability. There's nobody who's holding the cops accountable. This is an opportunity to make that happen. These cops can be held accountable. And if they're held accountable, that opens the door for other officers who've killed folks with no reason, no cause, no probable cause. Within 12 seconds, they shot and killed this young man who was sitting in his car, doing nothing, harming nobody. That could be any of our loved ones. We just heard about Keith Porter right now, right? We cannot continue to allow these cops to get away with this. And so I don't know, Nathan Hochman, he's a baby Trump to me. I don't see him really doing much because he has no reason to try to block this in the first place, but here he is, right? He needs to just let things play out. We've already fought for many years to get to this point where Christopher's family can actually, they had, some kind of recourse. Like, yes, these officers need to be tried for what they did. And for him to step in and say, we don't want to do that. Why would you do that to this family? Why would you do that to Christopher's mother, to his child? So please sign that petition and know that it's in Christopher's name, but it's really going to it could have ripple effects if we are able to move forward with Nathan Hochman agreeing to have this, tried in court.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I interviewed him a couple times when he was running for DA, and he insisted that he was not mini MAGA, mini me, which is how I saw him. And I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. So prove it. What I saw as far as his tweets and his campaigning that I heard on other radio stations that are more conservative, I heard a lot of MAGA talking points. But he swore he was going to hold rogue police officers accountable. This is an opportunity to prove that you were not lying. And because to your point, LaMikia, there is a concerted effort by MAGA, whether it's Bill Asaley, who is, the prosecutor for the Trump administration here in Southern California, or whether it's in other jurisdictions. Not only have they ended these consent decrees and police oversight, they have been going case by case, just like we saw with that officer that threw the woman, elder woman down on the ground at the Winco store. They systematically overthrew a conviction. That cop was facing 10 years, and they gave him a post-conviction plea deal. So what we're seeing right now is the Trump administration, case by case by case, of the 2% of cops that go to court for killing, that go to trial for killing people or harming people, a tiny fraction of those are convicted. So it's whatever it is, I don't know what that number is, but it's probably 2% of the 2%. What they're doing is they're going around and methodically overturning those cases, dismissing them, finding ways to make sure that those officers do not pay their debt to society, former officers. And to me, this is right out of that playbook. So to me, this is a chance for him to prove he's not a MAGA mini-me, and that he was not lying on the campaign trail when he said he was going to hold officers accountable by taking this case to fruition, not saying, we can't win, so we're not going to. I smell a rat.
Well, yeah, because there's a big dirty one right there. But I everything that you're saying, 100% agree. And I really want to shout out Christopher DeAndre Mitchell's mother, Miss Shirley, who's been, again, standing by her son, like standing up in her son's name. And can you imagine the fatigue, right, of going living day in, day out without your son, and then having to show up and fight every single day, every single week in his name, and to win something like, wow, 2%, only 2% of cops who killed someone, this is what happens, or harmed someone, this is what happens, that they actually, somebody says, yeah, you know what, we need to go and investigate this further, and there needs to be some accountability. Just to have one person, the district attorney, who claims that he is, he's law and order and all of these other things. Well, you know what? These people broke the law. They killed somebody. Just because they were police didn't mean they have the right to do it, but they did, and it was wrong. And some folks have already said, you know what, we think this was wrong and we need to do something about it. And then for him to come and just overturn it and shut it down, not okay. So please sign that petition.
Okay,
and,
that's
tinyurl.com/sign
for Christopher. I think there's close to 2,000 signatures already, which is pretty good. I signed it, I don't know. Maybe sometime last week I signed it. So I would suggest, if you can, it just takes a second. Go to tinyurl.com/sign for Christopher. Be nice to be able to show the district attorney the maximum amount of people supporting this, and let the DA know, it's not what did disgraced council member Kevin De Leon say? 25 black people yelling. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. I'm Dominique DiPrima. LaMikia Castillo is with me, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter, the controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
With your Los Angeles Public Library card, you can access the latest music, movies, audiobooks, ebooks, graphic novels, and more, all for free. Check it out at lapl.org/emedia. That's lapl.org/emedia.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, so if you're just waking up to the new year, we spoke about Keith Porter Jr. Say his name. There's the demand right now for an independent investigation. This is a black man who was killed by an off-duty ICE officer in his own home on New Year's Eve. We're talking about Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, the main motivation behind a meeting of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles with DA District Attorney Nathan Hochman this morning. That will take place this morning, and you can sign a petition on behalf of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell asking not to bring charges, but that the DA not drop charges in a case that was already moving forward in court that had been brought under District Attorney George Gascon. He's saying, well, we can't win it, so we're just going to drop it. But it seems to be part of the pattern and practice of MAGA-affiliated DAs with taking away what little accountability officers already have for killing someone. I mean, between qualified immunity, the slanted public perception that the police are always telling the truth, and the slanted justice system, and the fact that district attorneys work with cops and they're friendly with cops. They work with cops to convict other criminals. The whole system is stacked against police accountability. So for a case to get this far, there must have been some merits to it. And now the DA is trying to back out. So you can sign that at tinyurl.com. Sign for Christopher. I like to usually the first week, and we'll talk more about these tomorrow, LaMikia, but there's always a bunch of new laws that go into effect in January, whether they were signed last year or whether they were signed years ago but take effect in 2026. That is where we are now. The governor signed almost 800 bills last year, which means there's a lot of new rules, and some of them may impact you more than others. One of the ones that was an eye-opener for me, not that I'm speeding all the time or anything, but that if you are caught driving more than 100 miles an hour or accused of driving more than 100 miles an hour, you can get your license taken away the first offense. That's new.
I don't even know what to say about that. It's the DMV is obviously operating, I guess, with law enforcement on that one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a new thing. The DMV has this pilot program, forwarded actions for speeding tickets, which is fast, and they're working with the California Highway Patrol. But I guess it's some kind of board within the DMV that reviews your whole driving record, and they can take away your driving privileges if you speed, and it could be your first offense. So
yeah, I mean, be careful out there. Please drive safely. Don't drive over 100 miles per hour to the best of your ability. But,
right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the fact that they can take away your driver's license. I don't know how that. I don't think that's going to deter people from speeding.
No.
Right. But I'm curious to see how this is going to play out with folks who do have the Fast and the Furious out here on these highways.
I mean, it's a 1-year pilot. So they look at the data. They say if it's not working, they might not do it anymore. And we do have a serious problem in LA with people speeding and people getting killed, pedestrians and drivers being killed. Remember those students out on the highway, out on the PCH? I think that those 3 girls, young women who were killed by a person driving fast, it was a bit of a wake-up call because they were so young, so beautiful, and it was so startling for 3 people to be killed from one reckless driver like that. We have a problem. Apparently 336 people died in car crashes in 2023 in LA. That's a lot of folks.
That is a lot of folks. I mean, I wonder how many of them were related to speeding over 100 miles an hour. I'm not sure, right? This is me with a policy professor hat on. Well, let's look at is there a need for this particular type of policy, or is there something that could be a little more specific that actually addresses the issue? But I don't know because I haven't looked at the data, just to be honest with you, for this conversation. But this new law is intriguing, and usually these types of pilots, they usually stick. So
really.
Yeah.
3,600 people in California died in traffic accidents in 2023, and 14,000 were injured. That's a lot of people. I don't, you bring up some good points about whether this is the right policy prescription. I think there are higher penalties for lower speeding too, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of it is people speeding on city streets, not necessarily on freeway, so you probably wouldn't be going 100 miles an hour. But folks, I mean, we have to slow down, and we've got to respect crosswalks, and I mean, it's crazy that that so many people are dying, and we have the power to fix that by just being more careful. I mean, it's not some pandemic or and apparently they're saying during COVID, people got in the habit of driving faster because there was no traffic on the road. But
nobody
guess
on
what?
The street. Yeah.
The traffic is back, so stop.
Yeah, slow down. Just slow down. You want to get there in one piece, and you want everybody else to get there in one piece as well. We don't need. That's a lot of people. 3,600 people across the state dying in traffic accidents. That's really terrifying.
Yeah, there's also the mask ban is in effect now. Law enforcement officers must visibly display their name or badge, and they can't cover up their faces unless they're wearing a gas mask. We shall see. The Department of Justice is suing, but as of right now, it's the law. We'll see if they comply.
Right. And if they don't comply, who's going to hold them accountable? That's the question. It would be law enforcement, right? It would be their own people. So, we'll see if they comply. I imagine, though, that even without compliance, accountability is going to be very difficult because who's going to do it?
And supposedly you're not going to get plastic bags anymore. I know we had another plastic bag ban, and then they made the bigger plastic bags, which are supposedly reusable, but nobody reuses them. And they gum up the works of the recycling machines. So now you're not supposed to have any plastic bags in stores. I'm going to say that I've had at least 3 so far in 2026 that were given to me with things I bought. But they're not supposed to, and they're only supposed to let you buy a paper bag. In other words, you got to bring those totes with you.
Carry the totes.
I mean,
I've been to the grocery store a couple times this year, and they actually, all of the grocery stores that I've gone to have only had paper bags as an option. I have my totes, I have my bags, but they asked if I would like to purchase a bag, and they only have paper. So
I have so many totes in my house. Why do I never have them with me when I go to the store?
You got to throw them in the trunk. Or if you have an electric vehicle, the front trunk is very convenient. That's where I throw mine.
Okay, all right, I'll do better. I want to be more like LaMikia in 2026. That's one of my resolutions. LaMikia Castillo, thank you so much for joining this morning.
Thank you for having me. Please, y'all, sign the petition, tinyurl.com/sign for Christopher.
Absolutely. It will take you literally 20 seconds.